Story 1. The American dream, to me, was the ability to provide for a family on a single wage or, more generally, self-reliance. It is the capacity to obtain everything you need through your own work. Story 2. The American dream means that it doesn't matter who you were born to or what resources you had. You could work hard, make smart decisions, and improve your socioeconomic status. Other societies have class systems that restrict mobility based on one's place of birth. Here, I can own land, start a business, and achieve my goals. I still feel that way for myself. However, the wealth divide and cost of living have greatly impacted future generations and those from the past who haven't adapted to new technologies and norms. Story 3. To live comfortably, own a house, vacation once a year, raise a family, and eventually retire. Story 4. Four-bedroom house on an acre of land with a two-car garage. 1 month of paid vacation every year. Unlimited sick days. Sufficient income to take one vacation each year, a reliable car, and not living paycheck to paycheck. Only one parent has to work while the other cares for the kids, so half our salaries do not go to childcare. Story 5. I am living it. I own a successful small business and I am married to a wonderful woman I have been with for 25 years. We have 2 great kids and a golden retriever. Our home is in the craftsman style, and we have a Jeep Wrangler in the driveway and a boat in the garage. We take 2 to 3 vacations a year and enjoy various youth sports and outdoor activities. I am living a very ideal suburban life. Story 6. My version? Working one job I don't hate, coming home to someone who is glad I'm there, and having a porch. That's it. Story 7. I have a house, a reliable car, and a couple of dogs that love me. I'm living life. Sure, I have a manual labor job, but it could be a lot worse. Story 8. I want the ability to work a single job and fully support myself, and possibly a family, from it. I desire my own piece of land or small property to call my own, in a decent neighborhood that is not part of a homeowners association. I hope to have nice neighbors with whom I can get along, except for one individual. Story 9. We are going to have a little place. We will have a house, a garden, and a space for alfalfa. That alfalfa is for the rabbits. I will take a sack, fill it with alfalfa, and then take it to the rabbits. Story 10. The same concept as Santa or the Tooth Fairy. It is just a falsehood, we are told, so we will behave in the manner society wants us to behave. Story 11. He was the son of a plumber. He dined with kings and queens and has slept in an alley eating pork and beans. Story 12. The American dream, to me, is that anyone can succeed in this country. You are not destined to be stuck in the class into which you were born. I was raised in poverty by an alcoholic mother and an addict father. They divorced when I was 10. By the age of 12, I was selling drugs. After 2 felonies, I was kicked out of my house at 16. Nobody thought I would see 25. But I decided to turn it all around and create my own destiny. I left for Alaska when I was 18, working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 years straight. I returned home and was able to buy a house. I joined a union and continued working long hours. I sold a house, moved to Wyoming, and started working for a large contractor. I obtained a leadership role. Now I have no debt, 2 paid-off houses, and I am married and sober. My criminal record does not even show up on background checks anymore, and all my rights are restored. My net worth is around $2.5 million. That is the American dream, the ability to achieve this if you have the courage and the will. Story 13. To have the freedom to pursue the life I want to live and deal with the consequences of my decisions, as long as I am not causing harm to others financially or physically. Society owes me nothing, and life is not fair. Aside from the unfortunate few, if you are not living your dream, that is on you. Story 14. The American dream has always been the ability of anyone to access opportunities for personal gain from the American people. Story 15. I think George Carlin summed it up best. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Story 16. It was about owning your own property, doing work you found meaningful, and being able to enjoy some comforts and luxuries. Now it's just something that was taken away by those whose dreams were to trample over others. Story 17. 100 acres, off-grid, with a spring-fed pond, gardens, and chickens. I want to live happily with minimal government interference. Story 18. You posted this everywhere. That is 1950s propaganda, and it isn't real life on any level. Edit. He is a Harry Potter fanatic. Check his page and let him know it is okay to find Draco attractive. Tom Felton is a good-looking guy. Story 19. What my parents experienced is what I desire. They were both high school teachers and retired in their mid-60s. Now in their mid-80s, they have traveled extensively over the past 20 years, dined at wonderful restaurants frequently, and enjoyed good benefits that covered all their medical needs. We grew up in North Jersey, and they often attended Broadway shows. I have worked as a computer technician at a Fortune 50 company for 28 years. I cannot afford a Broadway show. I am about to turn 51 and do not see myself retiring in 14 years. If I do, I will be living frugally. I will not be visiting Germany, and if I could travel, I would be staying in youth hostels rather than luxury hotels. I have never married, and I have no children. I have done what I can to save money, but I will not have the same opportunities my parents enjoyed. Traditionally, the American dream includes a factory job supporting a family of 4, homeownership, and children attending college. I desire much less than that, yet the American dream seems to be just that these days, a dream, not a reality. Story 20. It is something I will never be able to attain. I say this as someone who has had to lift himself up while being married to someone who has also had to lift herself back up. The problem is that we should be somewhere in the middle class now. Honestly, even in the upper middle class. We both have advanced degrees and are working in our fields of expertise. She has paid off most of her student debt, and mine is uncertain while it sits in court being litigated, but thank goodness I didn't default. So financially, we are stable. We have kids but cannot afford to have more, and daycare costs put us below the poverty line, though we still made too much to qualify for daycare assistance. We have pets. We have a roof over our heads in an old house that needs repair, but we cannot afford the repair costs or the costs of relocating to a new house. We have 2 cars, 3 if you count my broken Prius, which are paid off but are old and in severe need of repairs. We cannot get a new one. We have already gone the used car route to replace the broken Prius. Our retirement plans are yet to be determined. Our children's college funds got a late start. We have enough to hold on to what we have, but there is no next step. None. We are where we are, holding on as best we can because this is all we have. So what is the American dream? It's upward mobility. The idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you can achieve more and receive your fair share. But my wife and I, along with many others from Generation X and Millennials, are stuck and unable to advance because the price of entry is too high. Wealth is too concentrated among the few, and our taxes increased due to the 2017 law change that targeted our tax bracket directly. As stagnant as things are for my family, they are orders of magnitude better than the situation many Americans are facing now. At least I have a house. At least I have a car. At least I have a job in my field. At least my wife's job provides medical insurance for our family. But I shouldn't be thankful. There are so many of us who should have so much more, but we can't because the ultra-rich need to report quarterly profits to satisfy shareholders. So no, there is no American dream. Not anymore. Not like my parents knew it. Not like their generation has hoarded for themselves. Story 21. It means nothing now, but really, it's been dead for at least the last 15 to 20 years. The last time people could genuinely achieve the American dream was maybe in the mid to late 2010s. Things are far too expensive now. At my age, I have the dream of living in Thailand. That's where I want to be. Thailand, paradise on earth. Story 22. It used to mean that our prosperity, resulting from our dominance and imperial exploitation of the rest of the world, was shared equitably between the leaders and the workers. That is no longer the case and hasn't been for a couple of decades. Story 23. The ability to transition from absolute poverty to the middle class or higher and to afford the basic necessities for you and your family while also being able to purchase luxuries. Story 24. It was what I experienced growing up in a manufacturing town in the 1970s. A man with a high school education could support a family of four. The wife did not work, they owned a house in a decent community, and they had two cars, health insurance, and the ability to send their kids to school. They also had enough left over for vacations and hobbies, and perhaps later, once their house was paid off, a vacation spot by a lake. They looked forward to a decent retirement with benefits and a pension. Importantly, they expected that their children would enjoy the same or better lifestyle. It was freedom from want. It was security. I cannot get over how much the value of the average American has declined over the course of my life. Story 25. That it's for the 1% to run any business they choose and live where they want. The rest of us have to fight for scraps and contend with low pay. Story 26. Setting utilities to auto-pay alleviates worries about overdrawing your account. If you can do that, you're likely quite comfortable, and the rest of your life is probably going well too. It may sound somewhat cliché, but it's true. Story 27. Having enough savings to possibly retire is looking less likely, especially since January. Story 28. You can become anything you want if you work hard for it. That's what it meant when I was a child. Now, that only applies to people born into wealth, and they don't really have to work as hard for it anymore. Story 29. Not having a fascist president and a leader handling his actions directed at all the regular people is terrifying and very hard to witness. I am an ordinary person. Story 30. Nothing anymore. It has been unattainable for anyone not born into wealth for a long time. Story 31. My blue-collar self is watching my orchard and children grow on our dirt road. I couldn't be happier. To all those saying it's dead, break the stagnation and try to find your dream any way possible. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and this life didn't come easy. America is not run by the best, but it is certainly full of great and loving people. Don't give up, and let's be the change we want to see. Story 32. It means the ability to create better opportunities for yourself, to climb the social ladder and achieve upward mobility. It is outdated and no longer applies. Story 33. It is something that still exists for people coming to the country, but it has long passed for the majority of Americans. Story 34. The 1950s required individuals to be white and either male or female, with the latter accepting a husband controlling their income. Story 35. Free speech, free press, firearms, and the ability to build a life for oneself are essential. I do not need to pull myself up by my bootstraps and become a billionaire, but I believe part of the American dream includes having a white picket fence, food, shelter, safety, maybe a vacation or two per year, and the ability to fund a hobby. Additionally, I value healthcare, due process, and privacy unless reasonable and articulable suspicion can be established against me. Story 36. I don't believe in it anymore, but I think the idea was that your children's lives would be more comfortable and wealthier than your own, that your kids would grow up in a comfortable house with a yard and a pet, rather than in an apartment. I also think part of it was the idea that wives wouldn't have to work, that the husband would work while the wife maintained the house. Story 37. It doesn't exist. If you're not wealthy to begin with, you're not going to become wealthy. You'll just work hard to pay bills that increase every year so that the already wealthy can become even richer. Meanwhile, you will have more and more trouble just hanging on to a middle-class life each year. That's the reality for most of us. Story 38. Living the dream means having a roof over your head, a full belly, work that provides, a true partner, and enough to be charitable. If the dream is complete, you are blessed. I believe this is the dream of every person, in any country. Story 39. The phrase itself means that propaganda is alive and well. You do not need to be in America to achieve your dreams, and being in America does not provide you with any advantage. Story 40. I don't believe in the American dream. Earth is Earth and people are people. We all ride together. I am a 4-time combat veteran and a former Marine. Story 41. Your results are based on your effort. You are welcome here and free to believe and live as you choose, as long as you can coexist peacefully and productively. I don't know why I think this, because it has never been true. Story 42. This is America. If you have a goal in mind and work hard, you can likely achieve it. This is a great country to live in, and it has provided me with many opportunities. Story 43. Never was I told there was an American dream. That's something created to make people want to come here. It's completely nonsensical. Story 44. This should be a country where everyone is welcome and community comes first. Fruits and vegetables, along with clean, fresh water, should be free, as these are abundant renewable resources when grown correctly. At a minimum, a 12 by 12 room where people can sleep under a roof should be standard for everyone by the age of 18. We have the resources and technology. It will require redirecting the billions of dollars that the ultra-wealthy hoard. The entire world is largely driven by greed. Money is not a necessity for the human race to prosper and endure. Humanity is. Story 45. Back when you could support a family of 4 and a dog, own a paid-off house, a paid-off car, have no student debt, and provide stylish clothes for your kids, all on a shoe salesman's salary. Story 46. The person who crawls over the largest pile of dead bodies gets to keep all the spoils of war. It has been this way from the beginning. Story 47. We always took for granted that we would be able to purchase a house, even a modest one, and pay the bills if we were responsible with spending. It really doesn't look that way anymore. Young people starting out cannot afford to spend $500,000 right from the beginning. Story 48. As a low-income Hispanic individual, I always believed that earning a substantial income and being able to live comfortably was the ideal goal. Story 49. Work until my body can no longer continue, then seek government assistance and skip meals to survive until a preventable illness takes my life. Story 50. That phrase is almost exclusively used to refer to the accumulation of personal wealth, particularly real estate. I wish we would stop using it or at least redefine it to focus more on contributing to society. My American dream is to be a scientist or something similar. Story 51. My dream is for my daughter to go abroad and relocate somewhere in Europe. That is my greatest hope for her. Story 52. Own a home, build a large garage, provide my dogs with a spacious yard, live comfortably, and have some savings. I have achieved 2 out of 5. Story 53. It used to mean safety and security. Now it feels more like playing roulette. You know you will lose, but you still keep betting on it. One day, I am sure of it, I will get there. That's what I keep telling myself, just like a gambler. Story 54. It is over. You allowed a generation to grow up focused on excessive consumption, and now they have even consumed their own children in the process. Story 55. The number of people claiming the American dream is dead is disheartening. Many other countries lack even a fraction of the opportunities available in America, from basic necessities like clean water to central heating and air conditioning. Numerous countries lack the freedom to wear what they choose to the grocery store. Do you know how common it is for a Hispanic American to work and send money to their families in Mexico, supporting them while also supporting themselves in America? There's a reason why many Indians primarily work in American call centers. The pay is significantly better than in their home country. The American dream still represents freedom, opportunity, hard work, and success. This isn't a political statement, as I don't follow politics, but many forget how good they have it because they've never lived anywhere else to compare the advantages they have in America. I'm sure I'll receive criticism for this, but I'll accept it because I'm tired of seeing discussions focus only on negative aspects. There is still so much good. Don't believe everything you read. Story 56. I was taught, like everyone else, that hard work is the key to the American dream. It isn't. The American dream is reserved not for those who work hard, but for the minority who manipulate their way into owning the hard work performed by others. No one will ever convince me that capitalism isn't just slavery in a more palatable form. It still overwhelmingly rewards a class of masters. Story 57. I think at this point, I just want to have a functioning system with 3 equal branches of government that uphold the Constitution and honor the social contract with their citizens. That is my dream. A fairer taxation system would be beneficial as well. I am not against tariffs or a federal sales tax outright. In fact, I believe it may be fairer than income tax, even progressive income tax. If you earn less, you will obviously consume less and pay less tax. Wealthier individuals who consume more, travel more, and spend more on entertainment will pay more tax. What is unfair and is happening now is that Americans are paying both income tax and tariffs. Story 58. I believe it always meant that if you are healthy, intelligent, a hard worker, and lucky, you have a chance to greatly exceed the successes of your parents. It isn't a guarantee or available to everyone, but there is a possibility. It also isn't unique to the United States. Story 59. Opportunity has nothing to do with guarantees of wealth or family, nor does it mean that opportunities are equal for everyone. It is about the fact that, for the vast majority of the population, where you are born does not completely determine your future or restrict you to a specific place or lifestyle. Story 60. Being free to die from a preventable illness because federal healthcare is considered socialist by a minority group of angry voters who are disinterested and prejudiced, yet continue to vote consistently. Story 61. Definitely unattainable now. But it used to mean owning a home, having a good affordable wage at a job that allowed for a healthy work-life balance, having affordable healthcare, retiring comfortably with adequate healthcare and savings, being able to enjoy activities like going on vacation or hosting parties, going to college without incurring debt and being burdened by the government for the rest of your life, and not having to decide between paying a bill or buying groceries. The list goes on. Story 62. I want a goth girl with thick thighs to let me rest my head on her lap while she runs her hands through my hair. It's a simple dream, but I haven't found it yet. Story 63. It's a slogan, an advertising tactic designed to motivate workers to strive for success, while primarily benefiting others. It serves the interests of wealthy individuals. Story 64. You have to belong to an exclusive club for that dream to come true. Most of us aren't members. To me, it always meant that if you work hard, you can create a decent existence, own a house, and raise a family. Be happy. It doesn't exist anymore. Story 65. No debt, a house that I own, a job that allows me to do what I enjoy, and 2 to 3 weeks of vacation per year. Story 66. I have no clue. I was born here. When I was younger, I thought it was as simple as working a regular corporate job, moving up the ladder, and raising a family. Now I'm 30 and have experienced many different things, achieved a lot of professional success, and am uncertain about the point of it all. Every lifestyle that appeals to me seems incredibly difficult to attain, and yet if I had simply gotten lucky with investments like Bitcoin or Nvidia stock, it might have brought me closer to my goals. Everything here feels like a scam, exploited to the fullest and excessively priced. Overall, the quality of life is high, however. Story 67. The American dream isn't dead, it's just a lot harder. My grandfather supported a family of 7 with a stay-at-home wife. This was the reality in the 1950s. He bought a house in Connecticut by a lake in 1955 for $12,000, paid the mortgage, and supported the entire family on one paycheck. He sold that house in 1990 for about $280,000. I am 59 years old and have worked hard for 40 years. I have my machine shop as my primary source of income, some rental properties, leasing office space in my commercial building, and various investments. It's been a long, hard journey. I lost a business partner and a wife along the way, both of which cost me a significant amount of money. I haven't given up. I just realize now that it takes a lifetime to earn and retain a substantial amount of money. It involves crazy hours, hard work, and sometimes mistakes that can cost years of income to recover. It's a tremendous amount of work, and you need some good luck along the way. Story 68. It's the idea that if you work hard enough, you will be successful. Meritocracy is often the term associated with this concept. Unfortunately, many times working hard does not equal success. Just because someone is not successful does not mean they did not work hard. Story 69. When I first moved here, I assumed that if I worked hard, I would get out what I put in. But that is not the reality. Movies and television mislead us. The truth is, if your family is wealthy and well-connected, you will be fine. If not, you either marry someone wealthy and connected or remain in poverty. Story 70. I am the realization of this journey. My family decided to immigrate. We worked hard, sacrificed, and saved. It is a typical immigrant story. Now I have a profession, a home, and a family of my own. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Story 71. Not constantly worried about making rent, paying bills, eating, and having enough saved for emergencies, such as when the car battery dies and you don't have $200 saved. Story 72. Good paying jobs that we don't hate, where children are taken care of better and are smarter than my wife and I were. Financial freedom and job training that assures me of employment. These are all the things I have in my American dream. Story 73. Just that, a dream. It's a useless piece of propaganda from the Cold War that has outlived its relevance. The American dream never existed then, and it doesn't exist now. I'm not trying to sound bitter. I'm just saying that, like everywhere else in the world, America has its own problems. Even back in the day, some things were better while others were worse. We traded affordable housing and living for accessible travel and technology. Story 74. Being able to be entrepreneurial and create one's own fortune with minimal interference from government or criminal activity. Story 75. At first, I believed it was freedom from the ancient expectations of the old world. Then, I thought it was a deception created by politicians to gain votes. Now, I understand it is the friends we made along the way. Story 76. Being morbidly obese, unemployed, struggling with poor mental health, and suffering from an addiction to social media scrolling has led to a reliance on numerous subscriptions and a lack of disposable income. Additionally, there is a reduction in natural resources and protected parks. However, at least we have enough freedom for school shootings. Story 77. Steady, honest work to provide for my wife and kids. I just want to be able to get by and enjoy a weekend trip every now and then. Story 78. That the Democrats hold the Republicans at bay from ruining Medicaid just enough so that my diabetes doesn't take my life. That's all I ask. Story 79. The freedom to be who I want to be and the ability to live the life I desire, within reason, guarantees a healthy and happy life. Story 80. I am still unsure what the American dream means to me. So far, I have served in the Army, used the GI Bill to earn 2 degrees debt-free, secured a mortgage for a small single-family home, and taken a vacation once a year. Yet, it still doesn't feel like enough, and I say that as someone who should be more than comfortable. I believe the American dream continues to grow increasingly elusive for many Americans each year. Story 81. You could genuinely afford a nice life if you worked full-time. However, that is becoming less and less true. Story 82. It's a term that people use to find support for various agendas, and it always has been. Some are beneficial while others are not. There is no singular American dream, just as you cannot define freedom or liberty in just a few words, as they relate to national identity and priorities. Story 83. I am living it now. I grew up in borderline poverty. Now, at nearly 40, I am a happily married housewife. I own a large house, multiple cars, and vacation homes. I live in one of the more expensive neighborhoods in my city, and we have enough money saved to not worry about anything, including medical bills. Story 84. Why would it mean anything at this point? Everyone acknowledges that it doesn't really exist, and it never has, at least not in my lifetime. Story 85. There is no dream anymore. The rich want the poor to fight each other while they continue to stir up conflict. Story 86. The typical American dream is essentially owning a home, a car, and being able to support a family. Story 87. My parents and I immigrated with nothing. I grew up mostly poor, especially early on. My parents worked hard to build a life and provide for me. They took low-paying jobs, but they persevered. I was able to attend public schools and then go to college and graduate school. Now, I have multiple graduate degrees and make enough to support my family and live a comfortable life without struggling to put food on the table. This wouldn't have been possible if my parents hadn't made the choice to immigrate to the United States and then dedicated themselves to supporting the family and investing in my future. A dream isn't dead if you have the ambition and ability. Story 88. Many of these concerns were already addressed in Funny Games, 1997, and Funny Games, 2007. Additionally, there was a recent post asking why women are so obsessed with long clacking fingernails. Story 89. I just want to be able to pay off my student loans. I would have qualified for $20,000 off under President Biden's Pell Grant recipient forgiveness program and could have eliminated the rest in one fell swoop, but here I am, slowly chipping away at it. Story 90. The freedom to enjoy free speech and admire the American dream of wealthy individuals coming true. Because unless you start with millions, it is an uphill battle. Story 91. The American dream means to me that there is a carbon monoxide leak nationwide, and we have been slowly strangled into economic poverty by the wealthy who use distractions to control the masses. Story 92. Something you have to either be from an upper middle class or higher family, or be in a deep sleep to believe, or the right kind of American. It is really sad right now. My grandparents' generation during World War II at least had a chance and did well. But now the door seems to have shut sometime in the 1980s. Who was running things then? Story 93. Personal safety, financial security, and basic human liberties are unfortunately being slowly dismantled. Story 94. The American dream was to have a job I enjoy, or at least tolerate, that would lead to a nice home, a partner who doesn't have to work full-time, and a couple of kids. I have the home, but that's it. I probably won't be able to retire at 65. I don't have many people in my life. I have a little more than I need, but a lot less than I wanted. Story 95. My grandfather moved here from Ireland as a child. He ran away from home at 15 due to his father being an alcoholic. He hopped trains for a few years until a priest convinced him to turn his life around, so he joined the army. He fought in World War II as a bombardier in Joseph Heller's platoon. He attended college on the GI Bill and became a lawyer, arguing in front of the Supreme Court multiple times. He was also the funniest person I have ever known. Story 96. A comfortable life of your own choosing, free from fear or oppression, allows you to enjoy the rewards of your own labor. This opportunity is available to all who seek to claim it. With hard work and dedication, you can achieve this for yourself and then help others achieve it as well. Story 97. It means to respect everyone regardless of their position in life. It means to celebrate the immense talent that has come to America from other countries while acknowledging the achievements of those who were here before. It means using our natural resources wisely and preserving those that are irreplaceable. Story 98. The American dream provides a better life with more opportunities for your children than you and their grandparents had. I do not think this is attainable anymore. Home ownership is down. Healthcare costs are rising. Living on a single income is nearly impossible. Story 99. The American dream is a story we all tell ourselves. It embodies our hopes and fears, a desire for security, a belief in self-reliance, pride in our accomplishments, and a longing to provide for those we love. There is nothing inherently American about this dream, at least not for Americans, because for much of my life, being American meant a certainty that tomorrow would always be better than today. The American dream has always been about optimism for our futures and our children's futures. It was an almost blind faith that all of today's problems would be solved and that we could come together to accomplish remarkable things. That belief, that certainty, gave Americans a strength they couldn't see but which drove the rest of the world mad with envy or inspired others to risk everything just to experience it. My father came to this country with nothing and built a life for himself and his family. That was the kind of story we once cherished as a nation, proof that we were on the right track. That opportunity could find people, even those who were marginalized or victims of discrimination, that the moral arc of America would bend toward justice. The foundation of the American dream was social mobility, that hard work would ensure that you or your children would prosper. Once that belief was challenged, when we stopped being optimistic about our shared future, what was left became ugly, fragmented, brutish, and dark. I have witnessed the decline of social mobility for the middle and working classes. Meanwhile, I have seen wealth concentrate in fewer hands. These two trends are related, and billions of dollars are spent to prevent meaningful engagement with this social issue. Until we confront this reality, wealth will continue to be extracted from the working poor, the struggling middle class, and from governmental institutions that represent our collective voice and power. Story 100. There is a lot of negativity in this discussion about being able to achieve your goals. However, America still has the highest median income in the world. For those who aspire to the middle-class dream of owning a nice home and attaining financial stability, it is not free, but America remains one of the best countries, if not the best, to make that dream a reality. Story 101. Stereotypically, owning a house in a suburb with a yard and a white picket fence, attending schools with good community support for sports, having a father with a job that supports 3 kids, having a mother who stays home, driving a big car, doing better than your parents did, taking your kids on vacations to the Grand Canyon and Disneyland, and retiring with a pension is the ideal. Personally, I envision a neighborhood where I can walk, academically thriving schools that are diverse, and a career that allows me to utilize my best cognitive skills while also providing family-sustaining wages. I prefer a smaller car and aim to do better than my parents did, at least in terms of income and wealth, if not leisure time. If I could just find the time and money for family road trips and assure that I can pay for my kids' college and my retirement, I would consider it an achievement. I am very fortunate, but it really shouldn't have been as challenging as it has been in some respects. Story 102. Having a decent home. Off on the weekends. Barbecues. Family time together. Going out to dinner. Family activities. Story 103. Being the son of a plumber and a common man, I worked for 30 years at a factory only to be kicked to the curb and told that a computer took my job. I have also dined with kings and queens, while at times finding myself sleeping in alleys and eating pork and beans. Story 104. The freedom to choose between achieving great success through hard work and ingenuity, living a simple life without worrying about sustenance or safety, or any point on the spectrum between those extremes. Story 105. Doesn't mean anything anymore. The dream is gone. Oligarchs have drained all the life out of it, and we are plummeting into third world status. Story 106. Any citizen working 40 hours a week can afford a decent lifestyle, including minimum wage. This does not include extravagant vacations or luxury cars and homes, but entails reliable transportation, food, medical care, and housing. It has been a very long time since we had that. Story 107. The American dream was a misleading marketing strategy that lost its relevance decades ago. It no longer exists. Story 108. To be financially stable, one should own a home, have a small family, and earn success through hard work. This certainly doesn't mean much to me. Story 109. The biggest lie ever told to the American public is a false hope designed to keep the majority of the population working hard, while the wealthy benefit from their efforts. Story 110. There is no American dream. The people who control this country prefer that we stay unaware and complacent in our lives. Story 111. Nothing. I am just a regular person trying to enjoy life. The concept of the American dream is simply advertising. Story 112. It's a reminder that we can't escape the endless cycle of advertisements. We are bombarded with ads for everything imaginable, from medications to lawyers to contacts if you are taking a certain medication. This includes advertising the American dream to both foreigners and its own citizens, promoting American exceptionalism and instilling it in our minds from birth. Story 113. If you work hard and pursue your passions, you can have an excellent life. At least that is what it used to mean. I no longer believe in the American dream, as it is really for a select few, and I have seen too much to think the happiness of myself or my family is enough. At this point, I would be quite happy with society realizing that selfishness and vanity in a capitalist society are not the answer. Making a shift toward unity and looking out for each other is the seemingly unattainable dream now. I am not endorsing any political stance, just advocating for decency, honor, and respect. What is the point of achieving your dream if you are surrounded by a selfish wasteland of desperation, poverty, and isolation? Story 114. It means you can escape the title of wage slave in order to buy a house that may become a burden when you face health issues caused by the chemicals in our food. Just 3 years before the house you worked hard for is fully paid off. Story 115. From public school to higher education, you can enjoy your field of work without falling into debt. This is a significant challenge for those who are not born into wealth. Story 116. It means a tremendous and obviously false idea created by individuals from the Gilded Age to make the working class feel inadequate despite their efforts, leading to a charismatic figure who encourages them to blame minorities for their struggles and to support him as a solution. Story 117. The American dream died for me about 12 years ago when I realized how much college was a scam. I thought my elders wanted me to learn and improve the planet. Instead, it was just about my debt. Story 118. Sure, the American dream is where you can work hard, pay taxes, and watch billionaires buy the government out from under you. To me, the American dream is making sure this country remains a democracy and never slides into fascism. Story 119. Nothing, because it is a lie, and except for a brief period between the end of World War II and 1980, it was almost guaranteed that there was no upward mobility. Story 120. Owning a house allows you to start a family. While you can still achieve this using buy now, pay later options and other methods, it is not the ideal way to realize your dream. Story 121. Right now, it means successfully repelling a corrupt authoritarian regime. My standards are much lower than they used to be. Story 122. Self-reliance is the ability to provide for my family, own and operate a business, and help my community. Story 123. A decent house in good shape with a healthy family, some time and money to travel and dine out, low-maintenance cars. Ideally, make this happen in South Lake Tahoe. Story 124. I am living the American dream, having the freedom to pursue any opportunity one desire with a straightforward approach to achieving it. Once obtained, this leads to a certain level of power and wealth, along with the benefits that come from living in this country. You can envision a life and have the chance to create it no matter what you choose. Whether you want to be a hippie, spiritual leader, Wall Street executive, CEO, model, actor, criminal, politician, or anything else, America provides opportunities for everyone. With dedication and effort, you can take your aspirations as far as you wish. Story 125. To leave this situation, the question now is, how do I save enough to escape from the sinking ship? Story 126. Not struggling. I want to provide my children with opportunities in life. I don't mind working hard. I just expect to make progress because of it. Story 127. George Carlin once said, "It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it." While I appreciate Carlin's perspective, I find it a bit too cynical. Sharing a romantic moment in the front seat of an SUV. Story 128. Generations ago, my ancestors thought of butter as a luxury item, and now I can get anything delivered right to my door from any part of the world. I don't think it means home ownership. It means having first-world conveniences like online shopping and smartphones. Let my landlord pay for my heat, hot water, and repairs. My parents own a home, and it's one headache after another. Story 129. Dogs in a backyard with enough money to buy what I want. Not being forced to carry a baby I don't want to term. Being able to hear multiple points of view on the news and having people debate politely. Not having a president who is trying to harm humanity. This is significant. The Secret Service could end this situation today. Anyone could. A swing from a golf club or a mere accident could cause the needed impact. If you know anyone who interacts with the executive branch, tell them this is no longer an impossible task. This will be saving America. Remove that individual and their 2025 agenda supporters for all of us. To the government agents seeing this, you know I am right. Protect our Constitution. Do your job for all of us. If you don't, you are failing in your duty. Story 130. It represented many things, primarily freedom, or at least a closer approximation of it than we currently experience. It meant not feeling as though an authoritative figure was constantly monitoring you, and that your rights remained largely intact. It meant not feeling shame when viewing videos of the actions taken by your country. It meant waking up without fear of what terrible event might have occurred and not having to constantly worry about finances, the economy, healthcare, or the future. Story 131. It used to mean that an average person working an average job could own a home with a fenced yard, a couple of cars, and money to raise a family. It also relied heavily on manufacturing jobs. Those jobs went to China in the late 1990s, and the legacy of the American dream largely went with them. Since then, it has been supplanted by the idea that anyone can become wealthy through hard work and a bit of cunning. It is now more aspirational than realistic. Story 132. Who knows? Unless you're a baby boomer or older, the American dream died before we reached adulthood. I have a stable government job and will never be able to own a home in my county. This system is broken. Story 133. I had affordable rent and federal grants for college, thanks to the tax rates of the 1970s, but my kids do not have the same opportunities. Story 134. I thought it was supposed to mean that you would do better than your parents did. It did not work out that way. Story 135. As a member of the second generation, my perspective may differ from others. The American dream is about starting from any point and achieving remarkable success through hard work. In my parents' country, no amount of hard work can lift you out of poverty. The opportunities simply do not exist. Today, it seems increasingly challenging to realize this dream, but it remains vastly better than the circumstances my family faced. Story 136. Social mobility and freedom of expression. The first has been eroding for decades, while the second has only started to decline more recently. Story 137. Owning a home, raising a family, and leading a happy life are important to us. My husband and I have no consumer debt, only a mortgage. We are in our mid-40s and have one child. We also travel more than the average family. Story 138. Equity in opportunity and human rights is essential. Love is love. The military is valued, and veterans are honored and supported. The wealthy pay their taxes without exploiting loopholes. I can afford healthy food, and college is accessible. Education is available to all children, tailored to their needs rather than their income. Medical care and mental health services are accessible. National parks are beautiful and well-maintained. Justice prevails, and individuals like Musk and Bezos are limited to their respective endeavors. Story 139. Getting out of this nightmare is the first priority. It means having the freedom to provide my family with comfort and luxury without sacrificing my own well-being. It means living a life where success does not come at the cost of health or happiness. Moreover, it means every American, regardless of their background, should have the same opportunities to pursue that kind of life. Story 140. Nothing always meant nothing to me. It always seemed like a myth, though there is indeed some truth to it, and the conditions and mobility here are still quite a bit better than in many countries. It's probably because I was born and grew up here. Story 141. It is a fallacy that people repeat to convince themselves that we are somehow magically superior to others. Story 142. Most of us are not living in squalor, have enough food to become overweight, have a roof over our heads, do not die of hunger or preventable diseases, and do not live in a war zone. The American dream was created as public relations. People immigrate here because they can have a better life and are generally better off. I am currently living this dream only because my grandparents and parents worked until retirement to provide it for me. Now, I do not know what the future holds for my children, but overconsumption and job security are pressing concerns at this point. I am learning to make cuts and participate in my community rather than retreat into a corner. Maybe less is more at this point, and this may not be the old dream. Story 143. The American dream is alive and well. The American dream signifies that you are not bound by the circumstances of your birth. Opportunity is abundant, and with hard work and a little luck, anyone can succeed. There are countless stories of self-made individuals who, through determination and effort, have achieved success as they define it. In my case, I worked hard starting in my teens, and now at 42, I am married with 7 children. My wife is able to stay home with the kids since I have a decent job. I own a piece of land where I can grow some of my own food. I am proof that the American dream is not dead. I am not special. I didn't grow up wealthy, and I am not wealthy now, at least not monetarily. Things may not be perfect, but the American dream shows that anyone can achieve this. Story 144. I'm thankful to live the American dream. My family came here from Pakistan in the 1990s. I attended a public school and took advanced placement classes, received a full scholarship and later funding for my master's degree. I have a secure salary and career, and I also have the opportunity to travel and enjoy shopping, working out, and dining. I earn in the $80,000 range. I am 34 years old and female. It requires hard work, and there is an element of luck involved as well. My life is certainly incredible compared to my grandmother and mother, who grew up and lived in Pakistan. They cannot imagine my opportunities and lifestyle. One thing to remember is that the American dream is not achievable for everyone, only for some. I feel I have achieved it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.